Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a good week so far. Of course, I'm wearing my Quebec Nordiques stuff because, Quebec again, is kind of in the news, and I thought it was kind of interesting to maybe talk about it a little bit. But before I do that, if you are new to the channel or you're new to hockey in general and you love the sport, like I do, I love the sport. I don't care if it's college, high school. I don't care if it's pee-wees on a pond. If it's hockey, I love it. So if you're new to the channel and you're new to the sport itself and you've fallen in love with it, it would be absolutely awesome and would be greatly appreciated if you would hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you want to be notified anytime future videos are uploaded, go ahead and tap the little bell, and you can be notified anytime new stuff is uploaded. So, Quebec again. And I kind of like talking about Quebec because it gives me a chance to wear this awesome jersey. Also kind of gives a chance to wear this cool hat, which, by the way, this hat I got from hatland.com. They have a lot of throwback stuff. Not a lot of new stuff, but old school throwback stuff. This is a hat from New Era, but they have like Mitchell and Ness stuff. They got a lot of really cool old school stuff. So if you like old school hats, go check out Hatland. But Quebec again is kind of in the news again because we just saw the Quebec Remparts of the CHL. They're from the QMJHL, and they just won the Memorial Cup. Now it's been a bit since they won the Memorial Cup, but they won the Memorial Cup, and of course, reading this headline here, renewed calls for NHL expansion start after Memorial Cup championship. Quebec, they want, obviously they want a team. They're calling for expansion to Quebec, which I get. I understand it. The NHL does not have an appetite to do it. For whatever reason, they don't think Quebec is going to draw new fans in. You're going to have the fans that are going to sell out that building, but are you really going to get new fans like you've gotten in Vegas and like you've gotten in Seattle? What kind? How many new fans are you going to bring in? That's kind of, I think, one of the reasons why. But the whole thing for calling for expansion is the fact that they already have an NHL ready arena that will fill 18,000, that will fit over 18,000 people, which has been sold out for the Remparts games. And they're a junior team. So you will sell the building out. But again, are you going to bring in new fans? Also, how are you going to navigate the Canadian dollar? I don't know. But it is interesting that one of these guys on Twitter. Now it's all in French, and I can't read French for anything. But he's got like a little video of Quebec Rempart fans all outside. They're all cheering and celebrating. But somebody then kind of went and they retweeted it or whatever, or they tagged the person in this, and they said, and it says, totally not an NHL city, with the laugh, the crying laugh emoji. So yeah, totally not, totally throwing it out there. Quebec, they're totally not an NHL city. I thought it was interesting to see that. But yeah, it says part of this says, it's understandable why the league is wary to expand to its former location, but with every event like the Memorial Cup, the evidence is just piling on. Quebec City deserves an NHL team. Anybody who is a fan of hockey, we'd love to see the Quebec Nordiques back on the ice. We'd love to see this jersey skating around the ice again. It would be fabulous. But again, the NHL has their reasons. And it's just, but yeah, I mean, there, people saying, oh, it's still not an NHL city. Are you sure? And of course, most of these tweets, they're all in French. And like I said, I don't read French very well. Actually, my French basically is like Grey Poupon. there's my French capacity basically. But it is interesting though that they say that, and one of the things toward the bottom of this article, so when are the Nordiques coming back, with a question mark? It may not be a market like Houston or Atlanta or even Arizona, but Quebec's love for hockey is evident. Maybe one day Gary Bettman will realize what this league is missing. We all know it could work in Quebec, but the NHL does not want to. The NHL, they love their money. They love their money. They don't care about the Canadian money though. They don't want to expand to a Canadian. They want to. If the NHL had their way, there would be no Canadian NHL teams. I firmly believe this. If the NHL had it their way, there would be no Canadian NHL teams because they can make a ton of money here in America. They can't make that up there. The Canadian dollar up there is garbage. And it's, I mean, that's the weird thing. Up in Canada, that's their main sport. That's their national pastime, is hockey. They live it, they eat it, they breathe it. They basically wake up and a lot of the kids, they basically wake up in the morning, right away throw their skates on, and they're out skating around and playing hockey. I mean, first thing in the morning. I've seen them. I've seen some videos, and I've seen a couple of these videos, and I'm like, God, when are these kids eligible for the draft? Cause whoo. But I firmly believe that the NHL, if they had their way, you would not see any Canadian hockey teams because they're all about money. They want more and more and more money. They're not going to get that in Quebec. They're not going to get that in Canada, in Canada. And it's interesting because I just thought about this too, I think yesterday. Because there's the talk of, the Coyotes potentially moving to either Houston or Salt Lake City. And I started thinking, okay, if you moved to Salt Lake City or something, or if somehow the Coyotes make it work and you put, two expansion teams, say in Salt Lake City and Houston, those are two Western Conference teams. That wouldn't exactly work in a 34 team league. Now, if you're holding out for expansion for either Houston or expansion to Atlanta, that's an Eastern Conference team. I still don't think Atlanta should get a third crack at this before Quebec gets another opportunity. But it is interesting, and in the end of the year press conference that Bettman did, they asked him about expansion, and of course he says, we're not in expansion mode, we're not all that. But he didn't say no. He didn't say no to expansion. And again, I've done a video on this, talking about why wouldn't they expand, especially if the Ottawa Senators If the Ottawa Senators sell for upward of $1 billion, that's the expansion fee. That's where the expansion fee starts, is $1 billion. Now, when you do that, when you split that 32 separate ways, it's like, oh, what was the math I did on that? It was something like $30 million, I think, per team, or 20 some million dollars. And those go to the owners. None of that goes to the players. That expansion fee is split up between the owners. Now again, why would you, if in that case, and you can get a $1 billion expansion fee, you're not going to, what owner is going to say, why are we only doing this one time? Let's do it. Let's get two more. Or if you really want to get crazy, you expand from 32 to 36. Now granted, you can't do that all in one shot. There's no way you could do that all in one shot. You'd have to do them in increments over the span of like 5 years or something. They'd have to do basically what they did in the 90s, expand from 21 teams to 30 teams in the span of about 10 years. But he didn't say no to expansion. And honestly, that's why I think they are so hell-bent on keeping the Coyotes where they are, because if you relocate, you aren't going to get anywhere close to the kind of money on a relocation than you would on an expansion team. So that's one reason why I think they're hell-bent on keeping Arizona where they are. Which, oddly enough, I haven't heard anything new on Arizona. Other than, people have, asked Bettman about Arizona, and he said, well, we're still committed, we want to keep the team in Arizona. But he didn't go as far as he normally would when talking about Arizona. I think even he is starting to realize, yeah, this little pet project of ours is, it's going to be done. Because no matter where they try to move, the people are going to have to approve it. The city councils are going to have to approve it. The people are going to have to approve it. You might have to do a whole new thing like you did in Tempe. And the people aren't going to go for that. In Arizona, people will not go for that. So, again, I think an expansion team in Quebec would be great. Just a team in Quebec, period, would be great. But I honestly think when they backed out of the expansion process with Vegas, that was it. I think that was their last chance. And the reason why they backed out? The Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar is so garbage. 74 cents. The American dollar is worth 74 cents Canadian. It is horrible. So, and all the teams up there operate on American money. So that's why tickets, merchandise, everything is so much higher up in price up there than it is here. It's insane. And I don't see Quebec getting, they'll go to Houston. They'll go back to Atlanta. They'll go to Salt Lake City. They'll do all those before going back to Quebec. Even though in both Houston and Salt Lake City, they're not NHL ready arenas. They are basketball arenas. Because they're, it's the owner of the Houston Rockets and the owner of the Utah Jazz. So either you are going to have to renovate those buildings, which is going to cost a couple $100 million to do, to redo the sightlines and make it, compatible for hockey, or you have to do an entirely new building. Now, what place already has an NHL ready arena, all ready to go? right here. But the NHL doesn't look at it. They don't look at it that way. They will not look at it that way. Now, it is interesting because the Videotron Center didn't actually get approved, I think, until 2011. It wasn't ready to go for an NHL team until, I think, 2013 or 14. I honestly think when the whole Atlanta thing fell apart and the Thrashers had to move, that's why Winnipeg stepped in, because Winnipeg said, we've got an NHL ready arena here. And that's why they put them there. Now, if the Videotron Center was around at that same time, I don't know if Winnipeg gets a team. I think they might have ended up in Quebec. But they didn't have the Videotron Center at the time. And they weren't going to put them back in Le Colisée. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to end up happening, but the storylines, the drama, it's all kind of interesting, and it's interesting to see, the renewed calls. There's always been calls for a team to get back into Quebec, but again, the Quebec Remparts win the Memorial Cup, and they're all everybody up in arms. Oh, are you sure we're not an NHL city? You don't think we're an NHL city? It's just it's kind of interesting that's kind of the whole thing of we're totally not an NHL city. That's not why the Nordiques why Quebec hasn't gotten an NHL team back. It's new fans, trying to draw in new fans, and money, the expansion fee. Because trust me, for Quebec to get an expansion team, you thought $500 million was a heck of a chunk of change. Think of $1 billion. I don't think Quebecor can do it. I don't think they can pull that off. I mean, they pulled the $500 million because it was too much. So, I don't know. But like I said, I would love a team back in Quebec. I think a lot of us would, but it's not going to happen. I literally and truly believe that it's just not going to happen. And it's sad because it is a hockey market. They have a rabid fan base, and their junior team can sell out the Videotron Center. An NHL team could definitely sell out the Videotron Center. But again, not being able to draw new fans, because the NHL doesn't think new fans will get into the game. I mean, you'll have the diehard fans there, but are you going to draw in new fans like has happened in Vegas and in Seattle? They've drawn whole scores of new fans into the game of hockey in Vegas and Seattle. You're not going to get that in Quebec. And, at least Gary Bettman doesn't think that will happen. I'm kind of skeptical. I mean, if you're a younger fan, you'll get into them. But it might take a few years to do that. But, I mean, again, we know why they're kind of leery, but and Bettman, Bettman has always kind of left that door open, saying, he's never come out and straight said we're never putting a team back in Quebec. You want a way to tick off fans. That's a good way to do it. But again, the NHL, when it comes to expansion, they want to expand in the States. They want that money. They're not going to get that money up in Canada. And it's sad because hockey is Canada's, it's their national sport. But again, I truly think if the NHL had their way, you would see no teams, no professional teams in Canada at all. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to know what you guys think. You know, I know this is kind of, you know, similar to beating a dead horse, but, you know, it's always fun to talk about, and it gives me a reason to wear this. It gives me a reason to wear this cool hat, you know, that matches the jersey. I mean, you know, I mean, you know, any chance I get to talk about Quebec, just to get the opportunity to wear this outfit. You know, awesome. I love it because these jerseys are so nice. The logo, I mean, there's not a flaw in this design. Fanatics should take notice when it comes to flaws in designing. But again, let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you have not done that yet. Go ahead, hit the little bell too if you want to be notified anytime future videos are uploaded. It would be very, very gratefully appreciated. And, you know, what do you guys think? Is it possible? Does Quebec in, say, the next 5 to 6 years, could they get a team back? Would it be through expansion? I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought. Again, hit like and subscribe. Hit the little bell if you want to be notified of future videos that are uploaded. Go ahead and do all that if you have not done it yet already. And you know, I'm one of the first ones. I want a team back in Quebec. I'd love to see it happen. See you guys later.